Wife of 7 years cheated on me. Now everyone in my circle, friends, her parents and my parents are suggesting me to take her back. Don't know what to do. My wife and I met 10 years ago when we were both students at the same institution. We dated for 3 years before marrying after 7 years together. She is a lovely and compassionate lady who is adored by everyone in my family. 4 months after we became aware of the affair, I discovered that my wife was having an affair with a mutual acquaintance of ours. It had been a 1.5-month relationship at the time, and she had been quite shady, ignoring my messages and rejecting me every time I tried to initiate. I got a nagging feeling that something wasn't quite right. I looked around but couldn't discover anything, so I hired a private investigator, who delivered evidence within a week. The lady in issue was having an adulterous affair with one of our common friends. When I challenged her about it, she admitted to having an adulterous relationship. She immediately fell into tears and pleaded for compassion. They merely go through the motions of a normal cheater when arrested. My requests for all the facts, including a full chronology, were met with hesitation, and she only told me everything at night, owing to her affair on another phone at the time. She told me that she only had 4 sexual encounters with him, and that the rest of the time they were just hanging around and having a wonderful time. More sobbing and self-pitying came 3 days later, as she informed me that she had destroyed all contracts with him and that she would do everything it took to make our marriage succeed, as she promised MC. MC concurred. I told her to leave me alone and that I would not be forced to do anything. The scenario made me feel cheated, embarrassed, and degraded. She relocated to be closer to her parents. After that, she began phoning me every hour, telling me how much she loves me, how much she regrets what she'd done, and how she would do everything to save our marriage. After 2 days of total and full contempt for her, I texted her to let her know we were parting up. My phone began to ring with calls from her parents, sister, and other family members as she fell into a panic and began to have emotional breakdowns. She begs me not to dissolve the marriage and to give her another opportunity. Her affair was made public later that day when she wrote a lengthy Facebook post about how she had screwed up and how she had destroyed her marriage, thus confessing her affair. Despite this, I was secure in my choice. She even insisted on taking a lie detector exam to prove to me that she had never cheated before. I flatly refused. Blah, 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 blah. I asked for some alone time to absorb everything. We've been residing in several locations since then. All of this happened around 4 months ago. Last week, when I filed for divorce, she erupted into tears, begging with me to reconsider and give her another opportunity. After that, she approached my parents and asked them to make an effort to convince me not to file for divorce. They did all they could to encourage me to handle the situation, but they were unsuccessful last night. Also, practically every single one of our mutual friends congratulated and commended her for being so bold as to confess her affair in her Facebook post. In addition, she is concerned about me and feels that I should give her an opportunity to prove herself. She is very sorry for what she has done, and I am on the point of having a nervous breakdown, but I can assure you that she truly regrets her actions. Her dishonesty has caused me the greatest heartbreak of all since I hold her in high regard. I'm completely at a loss on what to do. The way someone who is reconnected with their spouse is dealing with life is important to know. Simply an update, first and foremost, I'd want to express my gratitude to each and every one of you. In light of the outpouring of affection I've received over the last 15 hours, I'd want to express my sincere regret for not replying to your comments and private messages more quickly. I'd like to respond to some of the most often asked questions on this website. However, despite the fact that we do not have children at the present time, we plan to have children after the pandemic has passed. In our respective businesses, we are both entrepreneurs who collaborate on initiatives. The last time I communicated with her was almost 3 months ago, and it wasn't for any personal reasons either. The most recent update is given in the section below. In light of your remarks and private communications, I have chosen to call my parents and notify them that I have filed for divorce. A few hours later, she called me, tears in her eyes, begging with me not to end the relationship. It had been a long time since I had seen or talked to her about the affair, and she pushed me to meet up with her in person to talk about it. Every time I talked, I pretended to be completely uninterested in the subject of the affair. She pledged to explain everything to me, that I would be given the opportunity to hear her side of the story, and that any decision I made would be respected by her and her family. The fact that I was completely clueless about what was going on and had no prior knowledge of the affair will make for a satisfying conclusion. As a consequence, I've decided to plan a meeting with her for the following Sunday afternoon. All that has to be stated is that's all there is to it. Update 1. Everything went well on Sunday afternoon, according to schedule. When I spoke with her, she had a sour tone in her voice. For me, It's the first time in a long time that I've seen her. Our conversation revolved on our relationship, and I requested that she erase her Facebook post, which she graciously agreed to do, and I expressed my gratitude to her for her assistance. I was intrigued by the affair and wanted to learn more about it. What was she thinking when she told me she was dating someone else and then lied to me about it? Afterwards, the woman admitted to me that she had made a mistake and had been extremely self-centered when the event occurred. She didn't blame me for the affair, which I thought was kind of her on my part. I asked her why he was boasting about his adulterous behaviors, and she said that they were merely having a casual conversation about it. She then gave me with text conversations from both of them, in which he was talking about his intriguing life outside of marriage. As a result of her expression of interest, a series of events unfolded one after the other. His messages to my wife throughout the relationship were filled with detailed instructions on how to conceal the relationship's existence. He recommends that she get a backup phone and keep it in her vehicle at all times, just in case. I took screenshots of everything I could locate in order to keep my evidence safe and secure. She quickly pleaded for forgiveness, which I readily accepted, but I couldn't get rid of the horrible sensation I was experiencing. Divorce has always been the first and most apparent choice for me, and it continues to be the case now. She asked me to enroll her in one of the several marital counseling programs available. She has made it clear that she would never date anybody else again after this experience. Unless she changes her mind, I'll be held accountable for her actions. It doesn't cause me any concern at all. We want to continue our collaborative efforts in the future. We did this since it was a project that both of us had intended to work on together, so it made sense. Permit us to suppose that our common friend's wife and him have decided to get back together, according to the most recent information I've been provided with. Due to the fact that children were involved. My sympathies go out to his wife, who had no idea what type of monster he was until he made himself known to her. I'm sorry for what happened to her. As a result, we've reached a point where we must split ways, and I've made a pledge to myself that I will never be involved in another romantic relationship. Final update, my life is falling apart, and 3 days after I informed her of my choice, she ingested fentanyl. She was fortunately spared and is currently receiving therapy. I pay her a daily visit to see how she is and if she needs anything. I'm in a bad mood and feeling a lot of guilt. We've decided that we need to reconcile and work on our relationship. She would be fully healed in a month. In addition, I need to leave the nation to start a new life. Everyone in our buddy circle has referred to me as heartless in the last 2 weeks. My 2 best pals were the only ones who stayed by my side throughout this trying period. I'm very thankful to have them in my life. My parents were furious with me since I was the one who drove her to commit suicide. I also discovered that both of my parents were adulterers, which surprised me. My father was the first to cheat on my mother, and he was also the first to confess. My mother then set out on a vengeance-seeking mission. That explains a lot about why they were so encouraging of my wife. I adore my wife, and the thought of her causing herself pain makes me sick to my stomach. I anticipated that the divorce would be the start of a new chapter in our life, and that we would be able to move on from it. However, things did not turn out the way we had intended. She still has a strong desire to remain with me in our marriage. When I originally contacted you regarding this matter, you were quite kind and helpful. Thank you so much for your assistance, Stangers.